I've just sketched this out. It's based on what I regard as a failed watercolour. The sky was going wrong. It was on Fabriano, £130. The one that I published was a demonstration of that. But I'm going to do this in acrylic. This doesn't exist, it's just a made up view. I'll stick it up here so I can see it. So what I've done, let's go back to the basics of all this. I'm not a hugely experienced acrylic painter, but I prefer them to oils because they haven't got the toxic stuff you breathe in, white spirit, turpentine, paraffin or paraffin that is good for cleaning your brushes, your bristle brushes. And I'm using a chroma colour stay wet palette. It's like very, very heavy duty Tupperware. Masterson is they come in three sizes. This is the largest size, and it comes with if I can show you, it comes with membranes and like a blotting paper that goes underneath that holds water. But I don't use those. I use just a bit of cheap furniture foam. It does the job. I've got quite a bit of that. And these membranes are for acrylic. You can get the ones for oil paint, so you can use this palette. The water will leach through to keep the acrylic paint moist when you're not using it, but the acrylic paint won't go through the other way. It's a very, very good system, and it's marketed, I think, by Chroma Colour, but they're made in the USA. So mastersonart.com, mastersonart.com. They're not overly expensive. They last for years and years and years. I've had this one for 20 years at least. There's a smaller one. I'm not getting any payment for saying this. This is the smaller version, the Masterson. Can you see that? That's more portable if you're going out. And also, doing my watercolours, I use a tray like that. Now, you could get a bigger one, which I use if you can get hold of one, and you can fill that with a bit of thin foam and cover it with grease-proof paper, baking paper. And you can cover the whole lot with cling film to keep the moisture in and keep your paints going for a long time. You don't need to throw your paints away when you finish painting. Very versatile. Now, of course, you can do any sort of painting in acrylic because it dries very quickly. You can work on quickly, cover up areas you don't want. You can change very subtly, very quickly. It's great for painting abstracts, all sorts of designs. It's a marvellous medium. It does everything that oil does. But surprisingly, I think it was invented in the 40s or 50s. So it's been around a long time, but it's taken a long time for it to get really popular. But the only thing is it dries too quick. But you can get extenders, which are the same sort of price as the paints. But I use a bit of, this is a bit of acrylic varnish, matte varnish, household varnish, got a big tin of it. And I just dilute it with a bit of water. And that makes a nice surface to paint on. My palette is just a basic cadmium yellow, yellow ochre, not raw sienna, yellow ochre, black, which I love, burnt umber, which I just found, ultramarine, alizarin crimson and light red, and a big wodge of white. The white I buy in big pots, the others are just ordinary student qualities, Rowney, Kryler, Winsor & Newton, anything you get hold of. Look online because there's some good deals going. These are made for acrylic painting, but they're about £6-7 each. I use them for watercolours to do the very, like the masts and straight edges if you need straight edges. But if you're using them with the acrylic paint, make sure you keep the paint, the brushes really clean when you finish. As long as they're moist, they're okay, but once the paint dries, especially towards the ferrule, it will split your brush and you have to throw it away. So cleanliness with your brushes, and they'll last a long time. Painting knives, you can do little bits of painting knife just to change the texture. This is unprimed. This is Bockingford, I think, or sort of Bockingford. It's fairly rough. I think I prefer the smoother Fabriano for this sort of painting. This is a 16 by 12 inch sheet, and the view is just a made up view of my idea of Kent, the Garden of England. It's a lovely, beautiful southeast county. There's towns like Canterbury, Faversham, Whitstable, lovely, all along the Thames estuary, Folkestone, Dover. It's a lovely place to visit and work from. And you've got these oast houses that are not used now for drying hops. There are more industrial ways to do it. But I'm pleased to see that in this country, at least, English ale or British ale is very popular now. The natural product, hand pumped, wonderful, and Kent was the great hop growing area. So there we go. Now I haven't any idea how I'm going to paint this or paint the sky. I'm just going to let loose and just do something. Whatever you put on, you're going to cover up later. So we'll give it a bit of a with my medium. The varnish. I put it in. Oh, I've got to be careful. I'll have to find another container. I put it in where I had my Indian ink, or my black acrylic ink. So let's just see how loose it goes when you mix it with the varnish. You don't need to buy expensive extenders, or water is okay, but you want it to dry at this stage. I can't use it. I'm going to have to use. I've got a tin here. I'll use that instead because that black is not as water soluble as I thought. So I'm just going to put some in a tin. Look, there you go. So put that aside. Clean my brush again. Clean the black out of it. I'm just covering the ground, the basic ground of this, and I'm using the extender. Just this will dry and make the surface waterproof. I want to get rid of the absorbency of all of this. Just killing, what we call killing the canvas. Just getting some light in there. There's a bit of light red in the sky, clouds. Whatever you put on, you're going to cover up. That's a given, the same as oils. This is just the basic underpainting, getting a colour on. When you're painting on white surface, the contrast between the colour and the white is very great, obviously. So you tend to lighten up the colour to compensate, and then eventually you get up with a picture that's far too light. So put on some colour. It doesn't matter if it's in the wrong place. It's just approximate. Just putting an approximate colour in the landscape. I'm going to put a bit of a pond in there. We've had a lot of rain in Britain over the past 4 months. And now I'm going to put in a bit of a background. Oh, I keep forgetting. Oh, I look cold still, and I've been barbecuing with charcoal. This is just the distance. Kent in parts is quite hilly, especially on the coast, on the east coast, Folkestone, Dover. Going this soon, Canterbury, for a week. So we're painting basically a wintry scene. So let's just put in some distant trees. As you build up the texture on this, you can dry brush. Roland Hilda was a great one for using black. You try and get a nice shape of your trees, but try not to make them monotonous. But the trunks will come down quite a bit. Not as far as that far, maybe. Right. See, that's dry now. So we can slowly start to build up a sky over that basic drawing. We've tinted the paper. If you watch these, I hope you don't mind that they take a lot longer to do the watercolours. I don't know how to do time lapse. Not that I want to. You can always fast forward through the boring bits. Right. So it's a beautiful day out. It's slightly hazy. So we'll paint that. This brush is quite an expensive Acrylics by ProArt. ProArt is number 12, but a lovely brush, and so I'll try to look after it. Now, because ultramarine is quite cold colour, I'll use a bit of alizarin crimson just to kill that intensity and just warm it up a little bit. Great painters of landscape in acrylic is Alwyn Crawshaw. Paints some lovely stuff. And as you come down, we can make the blue less intense. You can see the texture on the paper now. The paint sits in high spots. Right, clean that up. Let's get some clouds in there. I'm using light red. These membranes, provided you don't hack them about too much, are quite durable, and you can wash them out to wash all the old acrylic, provided it hasn't dried on the actual surface, which is always a danger when you're it's open to the atmosphere for a couple of hours. We can have a bit of yellow in with that red. Just put some nice warm colour in the sky. Always exciting, isn't it? And I know you're all going to go out and buy stuff, because that's what art's all about. It's about spending money on lovely materials, isn't it? I've been doing it for donkey's years. But don't ever get disheartened because you can't do it. I've done this for years, and I'm not a particularly good artist, but I didn't quit when the going was tough, because it's so easy to get disheartened. You think it's all about talent. You haven't got talent. There's nothing to do with talent. It's those who don't give up when the going gets tough. Just soften all this up here. A bit of a haze. It's quite. I'm looking at the sky through my loft windows here, and it's much lighter than I'm painting it. So let's just hazy up a bit. Blend the blending. There isn't really a cloud so much as hazy atmosphere, and the horizon probably just a little bit bluish. Oh, let's just put that in. But you can adjust it to whatever you want. You're your own master, mistress. Now I'm going to put some light in this, because I like clouds. So let's just put some in there, just lovely. Some of them in. The trees there. You could always put a little bit of red on the horizon, a bit of ochre. Scump it on. Right, let's. I'm still not happy with that. Soften it all around here. Then we can go back on that when we realise what's wrong with it. I've got a cup of tea going here. I've got this brush here. It's been losing hairs for a long time, but they're cheap Chinese bristles and they're worth getting. So I'm going to show some furrows. Split the field up. I'll clean my brush and I'll just put in a bit of the sky colour, a bit of the we can make it look as if we've had some rain and left a big pond here. Right, I think I'll start to model the trees now. I'm going to take a neat paint. So the bluey trees at the back. some delicate stuff on the horizon, and warmer for these. Covering up those little buildings at the background. I'm only indicating those, just putting them in. Okay, so that'll do. By the time I put me, well, I can brighten up a bit of red in there, I think. Just a bit of ivy in the branches. I'll dub in later. Let's warm that up a bit. By the time I put the branches and the trunks and things in, that'll justify that. Excuse me while I have a swig. If we make this slightly spring day, I can use a bit of green. And these great big chestnuts or oak. Don't make them all the same. A bit of red in there, just warm the green up. Just delicate at the moment. If it goes wrong, you can always paint it out. Start again. Alright, now we've got some shadow in there. So the backlit, I think so we're painting into the light a bit here. A nice lot of colour. Okay, enough of that. Let's put in some of these buildings. Now they're going to be bluey. Because they're set back in the landscape, so we'll. And then there's dark in there. Sorry if I'm asking you. One's very higher than the other. Back in the 20th century, earlier in the 20th century, 50s, 60s, 40s, working families from the East End of London would spend their summers in the hop fields picking. The whole families would go. I have to just put some light back on there. And then set back in that landscape even more. That's not so bad, is it? I'll justify all this as I come to it. Put a bit of a lead roof on there, just showing through. Try to create an impression rather than a portrait of all of this. Just. Okay, that'll do for a moment. It's not going to stay like that. I'm just building up. Now I'm going to put some Uh, I'll use that brush. I'm going to start putting in some of this now, the field. So an ochre-y, umbery. Painting the directions of the ploughing. Just adding texture. Burnt umber is a good dark, good rich, very dark red. This is just showing the furrows. There's a bit of black in there, because you can cover it up very quickly. Just showing bits of detail. Don't put everything in. This is a mistake. It's what you leave out makes the picture, the impression. And we'll have a fill going up to it, coming the other way, the plan the other way. Okay, now on top of that we've got the chair. I use a flat brush. So I'm going to put in some bluey greeny distant just put all this in, just hedges. This is a very old brush, this one. Adding a bit of colour on this horizon here. Putting some hedges and bits and pieces. Alright. Now with the rigger I'll just start to detail this the trees, so they're coming up here. I'm just using blue and a bit of light red there. Now that is not wet, it needs a bit of water to dilute it. It's okay. I'll thicken up some of these trunks with ivy. I'll stipple that, I think. Seems to be the easy way to do it. I want this to look misty. It'll make the whole painting look as if you're going way back into the distance. It's creating an illusion of 3 dimensions on a 2-dimensional piece of paper. Don't be too graphic with it. There's just like a copse, and then we've got the same behind here. Just showing through. get another brush. Give your brushes a good wash out as you go. So with that bluey, just strengthen that up a bit at the top. And you can put some light, some red, more warmer stuff in here. Right. Do the same on the trees here. That needs a bit of thickening up a little bit, but that's it. I can put some more back in there, more chunks. Now we've got all this colour in here, but I'm going to use another rigger. Is that the rigger? Yeah. I've worn one of my riggers out. I don't think that's. What's this one here? I'll try that one, see how we get on with that one. Right, I'm going to put in some chunks for this, so we'll have sort of a dark greenish. They'll come up from, say, from here. Nice big trees, bit of black in there, I think. All this gets changed. This is the joy of this medium. I'm resting on the paper because it's quite dry. You couldn't do it with oil, you'd have to have a marl stick or a very good hand. A bit darker. Now we could go a bit bluer behind there, just to show some further back if you want. Now I'll get the rougher brush here and I'll put in some hedgerow. Bit of black, red, stay there. That sort of anchored that a little bit. We go in with some thicken up the top here. bit of red in there as well. Find my slippery brush. Oh, there it is. Put in the bit of ivy. I know I'm covering up a lot of the light in there, but I can stipple back. Good thick branch chunks there. I've got an idea now that I'm going to lighten the back of this. But I'm going to use some. That looks a bit of a mess at the moment. But I want to put in some or create an impression that there's something going on behind these trees. So I'm going to put in some. Oh, that's a bit overdone, isn't it? That's too obvious. Then let's get that out. No, God, I didn't mean to do that. Was wrong. I wanted to put in some light mauvey colour just to show that there's some trees behind this. It's a better colour. Use this because it's a cool colour to stretch the trees behind to give us like a 3D effect. So if I put some let's get that light back in the sky there. I covered up just a bit too much of this sky behind. I'm going to open it up a bit. Build up this impasto. Let's start again. Just getting this light back in there. Because I overdid the I filled in too much of it with too much dark, and I'm probably going to do the same again. But as I say, you can change quite quickly. It's a case of working over and over and over. It's a totally different approach to painting than watercolour. And probably I'll paint too many trees in there, but anyway, we'll just work it until we have created an impression that pleases us. And a lot of branches come down as well as going up. Oops. I'll put some lights back in some of these trunks to show some light coming through the leaves, the foliage. I'm not using the medium in this, I'm just using pure water because that thins the paint down much better. Let's put in some light back in there. Some light green. Because this is in silhouette, the light really is just going to be on the edge of the trunks. stipple back in there. Let's get some leaves on those trees. Use the black and the yellow, and we can warm them up with a bit of light red. Remember, this is spring, so we'll put a bit of ivy. Not too bad, it's not as good as I'd hoped, but put a bit of light back in there. Right, let's put some light back in that tree. Right. A bit of hedgy colour. On there. Just put some warm in there. Just reduce that. Right, so I'm going to still warm up inside that area here. Right, that's a bit better. I'm still not quite convinced by that. Let's go into the field now. And see, I've got this. I want to show this plowed field. We can just indicate some direction to these furrows converging on the horizon. Well, that'll do there. So, these are the shadows in the furrows. Nobody said this was going to be easy. But that's looking okay. Let's get some lighter on this here. It's so quick you can drag over it and subtly change. These aren't quite strong enough, but let's just get this coming across here. Let's get these nice. I'm using burnt umber and yellow ochre. with a dry brush. Try and put in some better hedgy bits and pieces there, but I'm going to use dark. Covering up some of that at the back there. Building up an impasto now. I might extend the furrows down a bit further. I haven't forgot my water. But I'm going to drag over this and create the impression of water in there. So you can change your mind any time, and you can, if an area is not going well, change it to something else. This is all trying to get the impression of the ploughed field before anything's starting to grow. And we can have a, well, no, I was going to have another field coming across here, but I think that'll just break it up too much. So I'm just going to persevere with what I've got, warm up the no, maybe I will. Don't like that. I'll just paint it out. Lost it a bit there. I know. I've got an idea. Let's just carry on with some of this here. No. Right, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to have a nice hedge in there, bit of cover it up. Put a bit of a hedgerow in front of it, or there. That's just the basis of a mound of the corner of the field. Yeah. I'm just letting that dry up a little bit in the hope that yeah, I'm going. That might work. See, these are things that happen as we sort of go along. You have an idea in your head. We're now trying to solve a problem that I've created for myself by making probably the field too big and forgetting about my original idea of having a lake across there or a pond. So we'll just look at it for a few moments and just decide which way we're going to go. I like the trees on the right, I think that's quite good, but I've got to do more work in there, more detail. It's just a bit too laid back, but the trees in the middle distance, they're coming on okay. But all this takes time, and just check that again. Right, okay. You can always fast forward through this bit. Right. So we want some nice warm colours in there. So don't want that too wet. So that's where the light will be, on the top of this. I'll still put my water back, but I just want to sort out the problem I made for myself. Don't want to come up any higher than I have. We'll put in some shadowy colour using a blue and the alizarin crimson, a bit of white. Let's give a bit of depth in the proceedings there. In the cooler areas of this, I'll put in some. Might put a poppy or two. Apparently, poppy seeds can lay dormant for years and years and years until the ground is dug up, and then the poppies will appear. Let's go a bit darker with that now, in there. Just warming this up a little bit. Now, I'm not quite sure how I'm going to do this water, this reflection of the sky. I've got an idea, a cunning plan. How's that looking? Rubbing hard now, this, so I can drag over it. Catching a bit of the light. My paper is getting quite dry now, so I probably need more water. Sorry if this is taking too long. We went a bit wrong, didn't we? A little bit awry. Just touching in this water here. Right, I'm going to do a bit more on the trees, on these here now. Get my brushes nice and clean. There's not a lot wrong with it, really. I want to bit of detail in some of this now. I want it dark, so I use black and the umber. I'd rather do this. We can have some white mixed with a bit of ochre. I'll mix a bit of light red with the yellow, and I'll just, if I can just lighten up on the top here, catching the light, do like that, bit of white in there. Now some green. Only another day and a half at Denby's, where we've got an exhibition at Dorking, Surrey. So if you're in the area, it'd be nice if you could just get in and have a look. Knife, little knife, vermilion. There's a little bit of vermilion. Oh, you need a pair of pliers handy to take the lids off some of the tubes. I'll put that red up there with the other red, just a little bit. Just a nice poppy colour. You might just bring it to life. And it'll hopefully reinforce the idea that this is a bit of a edge of field and a mound of something that's growing. I hope it's not too naff. But anyway, can't win them all. Get a nice big one in there. Another bit of alizarin in the middle, or a bit of blue. Right, that looks quite attractive, doesn't it? Which I'm not very happy still with that shape. Really, I want to put a bit more foliage on this. So let's, a darker green. I'm nearly done. I can't. I'm just fiddling around now, but that is just a little bit murky in there. So I'm going to use a bit of light red and just brighten up a little bit. No, it didn't work. Maybe it needs a little bit more trunk stuff in there. I think I got a bit carried away in here and covered up a bit. Look, see, I covered up a bit too much of that. No. It's green. We need greens. Still trying to put in the light back into here. I think I might have to admit failure with this one, but I'll still publish it because by making me look a bit more vulnerable, it'll give you a bit of hope, because I've never ever said this is easy. But I don't think there's enough warm in here. So this is looking a bit too far back, but putting the warm in here, hopefully it's just trying to brighten up. I'll just put a bit of dark along here. This is his shadow. And I've got to reflect that background in this water. So I'll just a bit of green in there. Right, I'm going to sign that. I'm going to put it in a mount. We'll have another little appraiser of it. Bit of a signature. Well, that was my base. I don't think I've improved on the original, not very good watercolour. I'll get them out and we'll have a little look at it. Well, it does look, it's a bit of a mess here, and this was getting out of trouble, wasn't it? Trying to solve a problem, but I think we've, there's the background. That was the easy bit, but that was really lost it there. And those trees, well, that's not too bad there. No, it's not wholly without merit. The poppies, well, everybody loves a good poppy, don't they? But if you want greens to really sing, put them near red, or vice versa. Reds make the greens sing. They're complementary colours. But there's plenty of depth in it. Interesting. That's all I could say. Let's go right in now. You can have a look how you saw how quickly and easily I did those. But you don't want too many big ones. And I tried to quickly show the reflection in the wet of this ploughed field. Alright, let's just go back over to here. That was quite good. They're quite an impression of background trees. I didn't do too much work on the buildings. I just wanted them to lay that back. That was the main interest, those. But anyway, I'll zoom out and go and lick my wounds. Thanks for watching, or thanks for persevering. Bye bye.